Continuing on with Gamesmaster magazine from August of 1999, we're on page 84. It's also now September and the Dark Knight is coming in. Makes me want to get into PC gaming. Right, what we've got here is Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. The review, data format PC, price $39.95, out now. Developer LucasArts, publisher Activision. Called something, players 1-8 lanyard, other formats, special features, networkability. Other formats, N64, which is the N64 was a very poor version of this superior PC game. The PC reviewer, David Woods, and he actually does look like a PC user from the 90s. Forget those double-edged lightsabers. The best bit in the new Star Wars film, is the pod race on Tatooine. And after the N60 version last month, now it's gunning for glory on the PC. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. We've got one word for you, Wipeout. It's still probably the best futuristic racing game in the world, but whereas 2097 was a massive hit on the PlayStation, it bombed like a homing missile on the PC. Why? Because it came out too long after the original, ditched all the famous names on the soundtrack, and arrived at a time when PC owners were unconvinced by console conversions. Shame. Well, now it's time to make amends, because the better of the two new Star Wars games is here, and although Racer owes a lot to Wipeout, it's more than capable of standing on its own two engines. And there's a fly just come into the screen. Sorry, come into filming. Tracks. You won't be convinced straight away, we weren't, yet the graphics are super smooth and the feeling of speed is breathtaking. But the first tournament levels are way too easy. So easy you start to get the nasty feeling that Racer is nothing more than a racing game for the under 10s. But then it goes and gets harder, much harder. See box 2. Before you know, the tracks are expanding, doubling up faster, higher lanes and slower, low ones, mixing up wide open spaces with twisting, tortuous Wipeout-style pipes and adding zero gravity tunnels to the equation. See box 4. To get through, you're going to need to swap vehicles and buy upgrades with your winnings. See box 1. It all works brilliantly, but it's not without a couple of flaws. No weapons. For a Star Wars game. For a start, there's no weapons, and although it doesn't direct from the pure speed in racing, it does make the multiplayer networking option pretty dreary, unless you've got 8 mates, I should say, with a copy of the game and access to a LAN, local area network. And while we're on this subject, where's the split screen or the internet options? The N64 version reviewed last month has a cool 2-player game, so why not easy PC equivalent? Don't they know that most of us Brits don't have access to a network? Just as the internet is about to erupt with Quake 3 and Team Fortress 2, LucasArts drags the racing game and backs into the dark ages. Speed Freak. Now for the good news. Its single-player mode Racer is the fastest and smoothest racing game on the PC. Yep, it's a better game here than the accelerated PC than it's crammed on the N64 cartridge. The controllers you get over the pod races, see box 3, is superb, and subtle touches like the hiss out of the air brakes makes it a near masterpiece. If you're into Star Wars, then you're not going to need much encouragement to buy this game. The chance to relive one of the most adrenaline-filled moments from the latest film is a must for any fan. However, if you hate George Lucas, his beard and everything he still created, you still buy this because it's one of the spin-offs that rarely hits the mark. Really hits the mark, I should say. Haha. Despite its lack of weaponry networking faults, Star Wars Episode 1 Racer still manages to create the most convincing space racing sim yet. Way cool. And you know what? I actually, because I've got a Mac for my sins, not a PC, but Team Fortress 2 is actually a game where I can just about, well, I had it downloaded on my Mac. So even now, 24 years later, goodness, 25 years later, Team Fortress 2 is still enjoyable as it was. Right, Top Gear. For every tracking racer, there's a pod that's a beast at gunning down it, and you have the chance to buy the lot. Ooh. One precious owner, no heat, and it's yours for the winnings from your last race. Okay. Thrash your pod race, and you're going to buy pit droids to take it back on the track. Ah. It doesn't look safe, and after a quick test drive, found out we were right. Breathe in, there's a wall coming in, the art of sidewood racing, Star Wars style. This doesn't look good. 2 choices and we've picked the wrong one. Decisions like this have to be made in milliseconds. Always go right. It doesn't wipe 2097 from the memory banks, but the racer is the best of the fastest futuristic drive available for the PC. I'm going to burn you up, Sebula, or however you know how to pronounce it. And there's a young Anakin Skywalker, which should have been left on Tatooine. It would save a lot of problems further down in the life for Mace Windu, but let's not go there. Don't panic. If you get through the first 2 tournaments without losing a place, later tracks and races will thrash you rotten. Fancy squeezing your brain out of your here? Shift it. If the pod racers were let loose on our roads, we're not claiming the world would be a safer place, just a more interesting one. Just one of the 20-odd tracks released throughout the game. It could keep you busy. Pushing forward increases your speed, but the stuffs your ability to turn sharply. The jumps aren't easy to execute, and the failure can be put back on the pack. Can we borrow your wings? The truth of the matter is that you can get through most of the narrow gaps in Racer without turning your pod on its side, but it's not half as much fun. Here comes another one. Yahoo! I think. Zero gravity. Just when you think you've got the game licked, you'll find there's a zero gravity pipe to deal with, and that's not enough. It just happens to come crammed with asteroids you have to dodge. LucasArts couldn't make this thing any harder if they tried. Turning corners like this at top speed is what racing's all about. The design of the future. 2 cables, 2 engines and a tortuous tunnel. Who is the fastest? We put Racer up against Wipeout 27 and Roller Cage to see who's the fastest. There can only be one winner. Wipeout, Roller Cage, Pod Racer, Extreme G. Gentlemen, start your engines. The graphics are superb, smooth, and the feeling of speed is breathtaking, but the first tournament levels are too easy. Presentation. The textures are a bit dull, but the game is fast enough and smooth you won't give a monkeys. Gameplay. Superb control system and unique vehicles make this game one of the best races on the PC. Lifespan. Longer than the Phantom Menace, but you won't be playing it by the time episode 2's out. The best bit. The narrow gaps that force you to swing your racer on its side to squeeze through. The worst bit. The lack of split screen or internet support sucks this big one. So get used to playing it by yourself. A blinding game that will rip the skin off your face. It's fast, exhilarating, exciting. You don't need the force to be able to play. 88%. If you like this, you should get yourself a copy of Wipeout, Roller Cage, or Midtime Madness. Drivers also on its way. I think I played it very briefly, as in, yes, I did play it very briefly. I didn't have a PC. Ironically, when this came out, my brother actually went to PC World, and he actually played it while I was stuck in the car park, and I thought to myself, I'm not going in because it's going to make me too depressed looking at the PCs that I couldn't afford, which I still can't bloody afford because I am a tight person where it comes to money, and there's no monetization on my YouTube account yet. So please bloody subscribe. Much obliged. As for the game, yeah, I mean, like I said, it was just a tie-in with Star Wars, obviously, Episode 1. I mean, by Episode 2 came out, there was none of this. It was all Clone War this and Clone War that. So, yeah, it was a decent attempt. I mean, I did play a lot of Wipeout, and I did play a lot of Ridge Racer from, obviously, Psychosis and Namco. But apart from that, I've never really truly been into racing games, obviously excluding Mario Kart example. But apart from that, yeah, I mean, don't quote me on this, but I think this has been re-released on the, the classic collection or whatever it's called. But apart from that, I'll leave it by 88%. And what will be in the next one? The Gungan Frontier. Now, of course, that's got to be a bloody PC game for 25 years ago. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and many thanks for all the viewers of my handheld console, which I can't remember the name. I've just looked, it's over like 1,000, which I know it isn't a lot for some YouTube channels, but for me it was like, okay, then I'm happy with that so far. Much obliged, and please subscribe. See you soon.